Sorry guys, I am really having... now no one is here. Fucking hell. Hey, my streaming software crashes. I think we cannot have a live stream today. I need to fix that first. I need to fix that somehow first. I'm deeply sorry. I mean, we can try, but I'm honestly, it crashed in the last 8 minutes about 4 times or 5 times. So basically every minute. I'm pretty sure it'll be gone again. This pisses me off a little bit. What should we do? Should we... Good here. The problem is... Okay, I will tell you, I will write. If it crashes again, I will restart my machine and try one last time. If that doesn't work either, I have to check for next week other solutions. Okay, anyway, I guess you got my point. No financial interest, etc. For those who are watching my live stream, not live, like later on, I have a link in the description for your questions I didn't address. And basically, I'm all yours. I didn't prepare anything today. Now we're stable for quite some minutes already. Let's hope it'll stick. Thank you, Ian, and everyone who have so much patience, loud and clear. Okay, the aftermath. I mean, I'm really hoping that most of you joined last week's live stream about, or was it? I think it was last week, right? Today is 19th. Yes, last week after swell, where I've been talking a little bit about swell. I got a little bit the feeling that from all those guys from social media, I was basically the only one bringing home news which haven't been like public knowledge so far. The only other thing I heard, but I mean, I was basically assuming that all the time, was the statement, I think, from Digital Asset Investor that he overheard bankers talking about possible volume of $300 billion for settlement per day. And that basically confirmed all what I have been thinking. Yeah, it's a bit shitty that that the price isn't going into where we would like it to go. Any questions? Because I really haven't prepared anything. Hello, Richard. There seems to be no more regularity. Ralph, I really don't know why Japan takes so long. That one guy I talked to, actually it was several guys I talked to. One told me about that meeting of the G20, the 9th of November, during swell in Singapore. They were talking about stablecoins, so he was kind of quite up to date there. And another guy told me that 1st of January 2020 there would be new regulatory clarity around other financial products based on crypto, kind of like which helps the overall liquidity of the market grow. As you may know, liquidity isn't just a high price. That helps a lot, obviously, but it's not the only variable in the whole equation. Basically, it needs as many, let's call it use cases or uses for that particular asset to be really liquid. ETFs, lending, micropayments, payments in online shops, everything, all those little pieces help an asset like XRP becoming liquid. And Japan seems to be at the forefront of that, starting 1st January 2020. So I'm really hoping that together with this new law, I don't think that the SBIVC depends on that law. So as the guy explained it, it's not related to crypto exchanges. It's really more about other products, other financial products around crypto, which have crypto as a security, as a collateral asset backing, so to speak. Correct, Bobby Jan. Right now, this 5 or 6 million liquidity to Mexico, that's a joke. Comedian Chuck Real, I don't think so that Christine Lagarde's speech this Friday will have any effect on XRP. Yes, Raymond, SBIVC is a bank-backed crypto exchange, and as a result for that, they need to make 100% sure that everything is according to the law. Could be the way I understood it, but Crypto Erie never was 100% clear about that. The way I understood it, SBIVC started accepting registrations June 2018 for about, 20,000 or so. And then, or was it earlier? Like in the first moment, it was about for 20,000 users or so. And then eventually they opened up for everyone to be able to register. But I think with this new EFT, there is a new regulation from some global EFTA. There is an abbreviation, maybe someone can help. It's EFTF or FATF maybe. FATF. Could be FATF. And they basically brought out this kind of rule that the crypto exchanges should employ AML and KYC. And a few months back that was quite a bummer, because it would basically mean for many exchanges that they will have to close down, because they will not be able to kind of do those checks on all the users they have. And I think, that rule applies to all crypto exchanges worldwide. And I think that SBI didn't do that properly firsthand, and then ran kind of like a second round, this additional checks required for the thank you Richie Rich financial action, I think it's FATF. And in the second round, I think they started doing those additional checks which were required by the FATF, and that could be the delay. But then, I really don't know why there is this delay. Richie, XRP Rich, well, RippleNet is basically xCurrent. And on top of that, those who want can use ODL. xCurrent, you have to see, is like a pre-ILP, or actually is based on an early version of ILP with some enhancements on that, which basically improves the messaging layer Swift provides, because Swift is only one directional, and ILP, or in that case RippleNet, is two directional. So you tell the other bank, I wanna send to that person money, and the bank tells, okay, but then we need to know the receiver's birthday, and so you get that message back, you enter the birthday, and it goes back again, okay, and we also need the social security number or whatever. And this is something Swift cannot support, this bidirectional communication. RippleNet does support that, but RippleNet can also like settle, like xCurrent can basically in the Swift system with the correspondent banking, Swift is just the messaging, and it's not even messaging, because basically it's just sending something, and they have basically no clue. Well, now with Swift GPI they can at least track where the problem in the messaging pipeline is. But still there is no settlement, because the settlement is another rail, like messaging rail, and the settlement is another rail via the CLS group banks. The top 60, more or less top 60 banks in the world are part of the CLS groups, and they will do the settlement, but they do not really how is it called? In German it's called brutto. It's gross. It's not a gross settlement, it's a net settlement. So basically I pay you 200 and you pay me 150, which means I pay you just 50 in the end. That's the netting they're doing in order to be able to move as little money as possible. And this netting is done by clearing houses. And RippleNet doesn't require that, because it can kind of settle directly via the Nostros, the existing Nostros. And because it's so fast, that's the Main reason. I hope you still can hear me. Yes, Ralph Raymond. I mean, I am still full of hope that we will see quite some price. I mean, look, at Swell we learned that they will open new corridors. It's a bit more than a week now, and we know, maybe not 100% confirmed, but I think Thailand is open, Australia is open, Bangladesh maybe. There are a few. The euro supposedly should be open. So the Japan obviously will be open in due time. So and I'm kind of hoping that with Bittrex Global in Liechtenstein, also the Swiss franc corridor will open. Richard is actually asking or wanting to discuss how low the price can go to pass ODL transactions. I think it'll still work at 15 cents for the volume, MoneyGram and those other remittances have to process. I'm pretty sure. Richie Rich, that's the whole point of Richie Rich is asking how the XRP will be sent in this ODL. If the banks have to hold XRP and send it directly to the other bank, or how it's actually working. Well, that's the whole point of ODL. The banks actually they don't even touch XRP. They send via XCurrent money to the exchange, to the ODL exchange. There, an appropriate transaction from the fiat the bank is sending, let's say US dollar, is made into XRP. Then the XRP is sent to Europe, and there, let's say Bittrex Global is converting the XRP back into euro and sends the euro via the normal XCurrent to the receiving bank so that it can be paid out. The bank will never touch XRP, which actually makes it totally private. You will not be able to figure out from whom the volume came, which bank, because the only address you will see on XRP ledger will be the exchanges. But if it'll be HSBC or JP Morgan or UBS or Deutsche or whatever, you will not know. You will only see the transactions between the exchanges. User 77836, if you listen to the first few minutes of the swell key, I think, no, it was it part of the keynote? I don't remember. I think, yes, from the keynote where Brad Garlinghouse basically is talking. He basically mentions there that they're connecting payment networks, and I have stated that several times in the past. I think in one of the presentations, Darren Moore dug out somewhere about, I don't know, a year back or so. He found a presentation somewhere where it was shown that RippleNet doesn't only connect banks to banks. They can actually connect payment systems with just one connection. So one payment system, another one, and it's enough to just connect in one point. Could be the central bank, could be any of the banks, because within the payment system, once it's there, it can be routed quite easily. And for that, user 77836, yes, I could imagine that BRICS are or will actually be using RippleNet and or XRP. Mark C, well, this statement from Brad Garlinghouse a year ago that dozens of banks will be using XRP. When you listen carefully again to that interview he gave, he didn't say dozens of banks. He said, the way you have to interpret it was dozens of institutions, and we do already now have 2 dozens institutions using ODL, basically. "90 are watching. Thank you." Who was it? El Capo. Well, actually, the live stream after swell, I had in the maximum spot, I had about 220 viewers live. I guess in the English ones it's more or less always over 80. But yes, that makes me quite happy. Yes, hodl the ODL. RippleNet Home looks like a social media platform for sending real value. It's basically, today the guy whom I was having lunch with said it's kind of like Facebook for banks. Going a jackal, I really don't know who and what and when the price will rise. I only know for the price to rise, we need high value going through the system. That could be high value transactions or an immense amount of micropayments, like trillions of micropayments per hour or so. That would also boost the price. It just needs the per defined time, it needs to be a high volume. Like within a day, we should at least see, I don't know, 500 billion or so going through the system. How that's composed, I don't care, but I don't see micropayments making $500 billion transactions via ODL per day. Not yet. That time might come in 5 years or so, but for that we're way too early. JP Cardoso, well, those smart contracts, the escrow, they're rather limited. They're, I think, just based on a release date. But you cannot, at least on XRP ledger alone, you couldn't create a smart contract. If Apple share rises above $300, then send XYZ XRP to me. That wouldn't work. But as a matter of fact, that also doesn't work on Ethereum. And why? Because none of those blockchains has actually an API to the outer world. And that's actually the beauty of CODUS. On CODUS you can run smart contracts, and the way those it's like little applications you can run on CODUS. And the way CODUS is designed is you can basically make cryptographically sure that the application which is running hasn't been tampered with. Because, I mean, I could submit the program which basically does this app. The thing I just said. If Apple stock reaches $300, then send me, I don't know, 5,000 XRP or so. But now the institution hosting that software on CODUS could basically change the software. If Apple stock reaches $250, send me already 5,000 XRP. And that's a change in the code, but with this cryptographically ensuring that the code hasn't been changed, that's actually not possible, and that's the nice thing about CODUS. I'm pretty sure CODUS will play in the long run an important role. I do not know yet how. I don't quite see how, but the way they're handling those applications which cannot be changed, it's quite amazing. And those applications can connect to the outer world, like fetch a stock price or so. If I know other digital assets which can do what XRP does, XLM for sure, Stellar Lumens. Other than that, I don't know. The problem is all of them lack the ecosystem. It's not just about the coin, it's also about the ecosystem. I mean, you can see that basically last year we have been all kind of waiting of $589 and we're still nowhere near close to that. Why? Because it just takes time. Whatever it is, but it took more time, and the same more time it'll take for any other new coin coming along. I'm totally not afraid that there will be anything which might be a strong competition. John C. The next Milestones 2020 while growing the network. I mean, I am not 100% sure, but I'm about 80% confident that this stablecoin functionality David Schwartz proposed will arrive on XRP Ledger, but that will take about 12 months from the time they start developing it. So I don't think that we will see that before 2021. Other than that, I mean, there will be more banks joining, and as several of the Ripple officials told in various interviews, the network effect is not linear, it's like exponential. Like, to get the first bank on the network is a hard thing, because with whom will that bank transact? Now when you have a second bank, for a third bank to also join the network, it's easy because they know, I can already connect with two banks. And this is like exponentially growing, this way to connect. So I'm just expecting more and more volume. Actually, today also to that guy with whom I had lunch, I told him, why does Swift GPI cover $800 billion per day and is already at 80 or 90% of the total volume, when we all have been believing and thinking that Swift settles 5 trillion a day? Then I wonder, where has the other volume gone? But when I know that Ripple itself is actually already coming close to 1 million transactions on RippleNet, I'm pretty sure that Ripple covered a good, I don't know, 10-15% of those transactions. You have to see that 30% of the top 100 banks are on RippleNet. And I mean, why would they use Swift when they can transact directly via RippleNet? It doesn't make sense. Now I lost, I think, the thread. Milestone, John C, more volume I expect as next milestone next year. Why does circulating supply keep rising every day? Is it, Carrie? I don't check those figures because it's kind of irrelevant, because it can only be like, I don't know, little. Jessica Jones, yes, I am still confident for 3 to 4 digit prices within the next 6 months. As I said just before, once it starts, even if Shane Ellis doesn't like come to life, once medium payment transactions start going through the system, it'll rise anyway pretty fast. Which actually is the reason why I still think Shane Ellis will come to life. And why? Because then it can be managed in a rather controlled way. It'll not be uncontrolled anymore. And I guess that's something the banks would like. And by the way, those who watched last week's live stream about Swell, where I have been talking about the slippage pools, Ripple is kind of maintaining to cover sudden price drops in XRP while the transaction is taking kind of place. Then the slippage pools kind of fill the gap, but also when the price rise, they fill the gap, which basically, after overall, it should net out more or less. And those of you who did read, and for that, check please the description of that live stream. There is a link to the cost model. Ripple has, I think, 3 cost models. One is just X-current. One is XRP at high volatility, and one is XRP at low volatility. And with the slippage pool and like X-current saves the banks 30% roughly. XRP at high volatility saves them another 30%, and XRP at low volatility, at high volatility, and at low volatility it saves them an additional 10% or so. Now with these slippage pools, they basically can offer the almost additional 40% over the RippleNet to all their customers. So basically they can save even not just the same amount as they have been saving with RippleNet only, with Xcurrent, but they can save even more than what they have saved already with ODL. Jack S. Kava Labs. Well, Kava Labs, what they're actually... Now I'm hoping I don't... No, I think I confused them with the guys who develop Strata. Is that from Kava? I don't remember. The Ripple kind of bought one of those companies, and I think... I don't remember if it was Kava or Strata, or if Strata was the product. Anyway, that company I'm referring to is actually kind of creating ILP software. They're helping institutions becoming ILP connectors and implementing ILP on their backend. So that's the main... I mean, Jack guessed the overall, the big picture for Ripple is not RippleNet. The big picture is that everyone is using ILP and that the bridge asset will be XRP. RippleNet is just a ramp up to that stage. You can imagine RippleNet being AOL or CompuServe in the early days of the internet, when internet wasn't really existing yet. As soon as HTML came along, everyone could kind of like interconnect with each other, and there was no need anymore for AOL or CompuServe to provide their own content, because everyone could create content and publish it to anyone. Yes, Vic, and I am pretty sure that RippleNet has covered quite some volume from Swift already. Is there a set price going to be given to XRP? No, Gary Brennan, that's the whole thing about XRP being a bridge currency. It will never have a fixed price. It will always have the price it requires for it being a bridge asset. And that's the main reason why it cannot be backed, because the backing would be a third-party risk which cannot be taken by XRP. That's actually explained by the Indian guy, Rajun or whatever his name was, who was in the first session from Swell. And actually he was explaining that on the first question. Actually, it was not the first question. It was the question from Brad Kimes. There he basically explained exactly that. Please listen to that session again. When you know, I think Brad Kimes asked his question, I don't know, maybe about 40. Start listening about at the marker of 40 minutes or so. Carrie Dole, you have no clue how fast it could hit 3 digits. If Shane Ellis came to life, that could happen in 15 minutes. I don't know what you refer to. Kevin Ramper said regarding ETF. if there is a specific price an asset needs to be at. I literally have no idea. Enough. Well, I mean, basically, Caridol is asking about where the liquidity will come from. I explained it before, and I really hope, if we do not see it yet until January, that I can have that interview with that guy I met at Swell. He would be willing to have an interview with me, telling a little bit what liquidity, what constitutes liquidity, what factors make an asset liquid. Basically, when an asset is liquid, you can think about it like that. Any time someone wants to buy that asset, whatever it is, he can buy it at more or less the current price it has on the market. That's liquidity. But to come to that point, it'll need to have many factors, and basically I think the dream target for Miguel Villas for XRP would be that XRP is listed in the same table as the foreign exchanges, like the different currencies are listed, like the price for euro, the price for dollar, the price for Swiss franc, and the price for XRP. Because if it's listed there, it means it's super fluid, super liquid. Now, how it'll come to that? One thing is definitely it needs to have a higher price, because even if you could buy, I mean, up to $10,000, I'd say you can buy XRP anytime now without really moving the price. But as soon as you start buying $200,000 or more XRP in one go, you'll affect the price. And the higher the interval of those higher or medium or higher value transactions is, the higher the price needs to be in order to be able to suffice all those transactions going through. I really hope that it is clear, Carrie. If not, please write me the question again in the spreadsheet where I have the link in the description, if it's still unclear. Richie Rich, well, actually not even the exchanges hold XRP. It's actually you and me who hold XRP. Exchanges, sure, they have a stock of XRP, but the transactions between the banks shouldn't use that stock from the exchanges. That stock from the exchanges should only be used if you or me are not willing to sell XRP for two banks being able to do a transaction via ODL. So it's kind of just like the reserve. Exactly, David C. The higher the not the volume in terms of dollar volume, but the more transactions and the total sum of the value of those transactions going through, the more stable the price will be. And I literally don't know where the price will be, but I'm pretty sure there will be a plateau. I believe for this 5 to 10% of SWIFT of the worldwide market volume, we need at least $1,700. Could be more, but at least 1,700 to suffice, at least for a few months, that on that level, and the more volume is coming, then it will jump upwards, but it will not be linear. Like, you cannot say 10% makes $2,000 and 20% makes $4,000. 20% market share could already be enough with $3,000 or $3,500. So it'll not grow linear. But with additional use cases like ETFs or stablecoins on XRP ledger, a lot of the XRP, of the circulating XRP, will be taken out of the equation, which then will require the price of XRP to go higher, and that could actually then trigger like factors again in price, factor 2 or 3 or so, depending on how many of those stablecoins and ETFs and other financial products are coming along. Solo, actually, I think the concept is quite interesting, and I think they're on the right track. I personally, however, feel that maybe retail investors would trust such a system. Institutional investors might more look into the stablecoin feature proposed by David Schwartz, because in that functionality, the backing, the collateral can be enforced via the code, the algorithm on the XRP ledger, and that's the totally unique and genius idea behind this proposed stablecoin feature. Then another thing regarding Solo, CoinField has about 200,000 customers. That's nothing. I mean, if 10% buy tokenized stock, it's 20,000. Okay? Now, if those 20,000 do invest in 200 different stocks, Apple, IBM, Google, Alphabet, Amazon, whatever, you can figure out how many stocks need to be tokenized at all. It'll not be a lot. So I think it'll take a while. Maybe, I mean, they're doing quite some advertising right now. Maybe they can grow into other markets, US and stuff. That I don't know how much additional customers they attract with that proposition. I mean, I myself have created an account on CoinField and have received 40 Solo, but I don't think that you will get super rich with Solo. Hi, Adam W. Parker. Honestly, how they calculate this liquidity index, I still don't get it. I think it's a good thing for the crypto market as such, but how they actually do it, I think they base it on the, 5 largest exchanges: Kraken, Binance, and a few others. But how it's actually calculated, I honestly don't know. Ralph Raymond, correct. $5, $10 FOMO will set in, and a lot of retail investors will come by, and that alone will also rise the price, even if Shane Ellis will not come in. But it will not be 3 digits. It will, I guess, with a bit of luck, maybe $70 or so. I don't know. No, it's totally unbelievable, beer, fantastic. You're right. But I mean, beer fantastic is actually talking about that it's unbelievable that with little money you can make a huge profit with XRP. And the problem most people don't see it is they don't understand use case, utility. I did tell that about a year ago. XRP is a different beast. It's not a stock which rises on speculation. And that's something literally less than 1% of the XRP investors understand. They don't get it, what a bridge asset actually is. That's also the reason I think why all those other YouTubers start their theories about escrow, pre-allocation and backing with gold or SDR replacement at the IMF or whatever, just that they have an idea how the price could rise. But they don't see that everything of that is not needed. XRP price will rise once the high value transactions go through the system, and it will not need help by any backing or by any IMF or whatever institution having it in their SDRs. It's not needed. It's not needed. It's a different beast. I think I have to rename that live stream. XRP, a new beast in town, or something like that. And who asked the question? BR fantastic. And I think this idea of a bridge asset is so simple. It's totally not complicated. But because it's so simple, most people are trying to find flaws or whatever. But it's not. It's really not. George, well, I haven't seen a video about that, but in this X-Spring event, which was last week or so, I think someone told that the cross-border market is just the cloth around the actual, like the sheep. One sheep. Is it called one sheep? The sheep in the wolf. The wolf in the sheep. Like the wolf would be the derivatives, and on the outside you have the sheep kind of fur and everything, and that's the cross-border market. But in that convention or whatever it was, I think someone told they're actually targeting the derivatives market. And I mean, I can tell you the derivatives market is like a multitude higher. Actually, hold on, I will try to find money world. I could show that quickly. Mini. I think I will show that here and then display capture. Hold on. Here. So now I need to make that a little bit smaller. Give me a moment. I'm not so used to do that. Can I will take me out of the picture right now. So this is an illustration of the money in the world. Okay, the 50 richest people, California's GDP, the balance of the Fed, all the currency in the world, the green. The yellow is all the gold. This is the stock market. You can see it's like, I don't know, 5 times more than all the currency in the world. That's the global money supply. That's like twice the stock market. That's the global debt. That's the real estate. And that part here is the derivatives. It's like, I don't know, 10 times as much. Let me find the figure. 500 trillion. 500 trillion on a count. I really don't know how to interpret those figures, but it's huge. It's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 times as much value as cross-border transactions. It's huge. And if they're really going after that, that'll be like crazy. Crazy. Who was asking that? George, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Ralph Raymond, for the compliment. Gary Brennan, cash out what you need. No, how do they call it? Exit plan. Don't do an exit strategy or an exit plan. Cash out what you need. If you fancy buying a Lambo, then cash out what you need for your Lambo. The rest you let appreciate. Awake Alive, I really don't know how long until 1700, but I mean, honestly, last year I still am 100% sure that the potential volume on RippleNet would have been enough last year already for $500. This year or very soon, I'm pretty sure $1,700 is kind of a no-brainer. It just needs to have these high value payments going through which require enough liquidity. And I really hope that in less than 6 months we're there. How much sure are you when you say XRP needs Nazario Parisi? 100% sure. And that's that's very conservative, 1700. If they want to be on the safe side, I'd rather think $2,500 at 5 to 10% of Swift. Oh, we are already over an hour. Okay, I will check the last questions there. Carried the XRP calculator website has a fault, has a mistake. It takes the total market into account. And that's what most people do who don't understand how ODL works. ODL works via exchanges, and those exchanges need to have enough liquidity. It doesn't help if you could buy for $500 million XRP at 15 different exchanges. You need to be able to buy for $500 million XRP on one particular exchange. That's the point, and this flaw they don't consider. Yet I have made a video where I even show that you can reach, I think it was around 1700 on the XRP price calculator if you use the figures I'm using. Check out my videos. Search for XRP price calculator, my handle iPinky7. Okay, then last question, and otherwise that was a quick hour. I'm really sorry for the crashes in the beginning. I don't know what happened. Lucky enough, it didn't happen again. I want to thank you for your trust, for your persistence, for your faith. Please check the descriptions in all my videos, even in the live streams. Check out the cost model paper from Ripple, where they explain the cost savings a company could achieve with just Xcurrent, with XRP at high volatile price and with XRP at low volatile price. And then imagine this slippage pool I was talking about last week, which basically, thanks to Richard, we learned as well. This basically creates for the user, for the ODL, a low volatile XRP, because it takes out the volatility risk totally. Yeah, and stay strong. I mean, even my wife, without knowing too much about XRP, she told me yesterday morning she has a good feeling that soon it'll happen, without her really knowing too much. And she had already 2 or 3 dreams where she was seeing some, I don't know, items, let's call it like that, and then she was finding interpretations of that. And the last dream she had was about cooking. She had like a huge bowl of the nicest looking rice she has ever seen. Cooked, not raw, cooked rice. And the interpretation of such a nicely cooked rice bowl is the thing you have been working on for so long is suddenly turning out well. And with that, I wanna leave you, wish you a nice rest of the week. Hopefully we'll see us again, or you will see me. I will read you next week. Few of you I will see on Thursday in German. I repeat again, there is a link to the spreadsheet on Google where you can add additional questions if I missed to answer your question, or if anything comes to your mind and no one on Twitter or wherever is actually answering, then I try to answer those. Take care. Bye bye. See you soon.